Hey, it's time for the Raw review. Sorry about that, guys. It's just that show was extremely boring. Anyway, let's talk about this show. I mean, first of all, we kick off this show in probably the most unappealing way imaginable. Did I not say in my review last week that we're going to get a very poor explanation for Orton's attack on Edge? Did I not say that last week? I said, let's not get our hopes up for a big epic storyline of, Orton versus Edge, former Rated RKO members. And the other thing is, this is really overdue. I mean, I get it. We want nostalgia. I've ranted and raved about, how they have to count on people from years ago. No one has gotten over, in over a decade, truly gotten over, truly been a big star. The last big star that they had was John Cena. Everyone else, do you see anybody getting called for any movies? Do you see anybody getting taken to the next level? Yeah, you got Miz who's doing the reality show and everything, but, Miz is from the 2005, 2006 era, but that's besides the point. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this situation. So, of course, Edge is not on the show. I don't know, we could say prior commitments. He's selling an injury, whatever you want to say that he's doing, whatever the reason is that he's not being featured on the show. But Orton, at least, okay, you want to tell that story. I mean, Edge just came back. So, it really doesn't look the best that he's already not there. They've done this before. This is nothing new. But Orton comes out there and he's like, first of all, for playing the heel, for someone who did something so vicious, he's saying, like, you guys want an explanation. And then as he's giving the explanation, he goes, I can't do this. And like, it's almost like he got choked up. What was that? What type of story are they trying to tell? Is Orton remorseful? Obviously, they're building towards a match. Where was the heat here? And the worrisome thing, what I said about this, fans are the problem. The current crop of fans are just terrible. And I'm seeing on YouTube, because I watch the videos on YouTube, everyone is praising this segment like it's great. They're praising the crowd and everything. And, okay, they didn't sound like an annoying crowd or anything like that. But, man, oh, man. I mean, how is this a good segment? How do you consider this to be good storytelling? I didn't find this to be suspenseful. This was lazy. You know why Orton didn't have an explanation? Because they didn't have one. There was no explanation planned prior to this. So, of course, when they presented on the show, Orton's got no explanation to give. You could have seen this coming from a mile away because they've done it so many times before. So this is why I say you shouldn't be surprised when we get garbage. Now, of course, there's people who are saying that this is good. I don't see how anyone could fool their mind into viewing this as being a quality segment when really it's probably the worst it probably could have ever played out. I mean, there's so many opportunities, so many reasons that you could have given. Just make something up. Is that so hard? I mean, I think that's mostly how most stories are told. People use their imaginations. They get creative. They come up with different ideas. Here, there wasn't even an idea to be had. There was nothing here. There was no story being told. It was a cop-out. A freaking cop-out. That's all it was. And no one's seeing it for what it is. And we have our first match of the night. It's Liv Morgan defeating Lana. And, obviously the whole story of why anyone cared about what was going on with Lana and Liv Morgan was because it was part of a story with Rusev and Lashley. Lashley's on the show tonight. Rusev is not. So you kind of see the inconsistency here. I don't know if the injuries that they were talking about, the Royal Rumble, were legit or not. or if they were, just some kayfabe, things so they could like fill some more slots in the Rumble, whatever the case may be. Ruby Riott returns at pure random, and I'm guessing the story here is because, first of all, Liv beats, Lana with a flatliner. 2 weeks in a row, the match ends in the exact same way. And then you've got, Ruby Riott coming out to beat up Liv. And kind of like, okay, yeah, we know that they were former Riott Squad members. But, first of all, I don't even think anyone even remembers the Riott Squad. It's not like they were really a popular team or anything like that. I've said my opinion changed on Ruby Riott. I like Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is a really attractive girl. So is Lana. So I guess you could say in a sort of way, I like all the participants involved to a certain degree, one way or the other. But I'm left here saying, like, why do I care about any of this? There's no real story going on. What role is Ruby Riott playing in any of this? She just comes back, all of a sudden she hates Liv Morgan. Oh, I'm sure we're going to get a great explanation for this next week, right? Don't count on it. Then we've got Drew McIntyre, and I don't know what it is. So, for like 2 years straight, they were just destroying Drew McIntyre, having him do nothing on the roster. He beats Kurt Angle. He beats a number of guys. Then he's getting beat by Ricochet and a number of other people on the roster. And it looks like they've pretty much had their fun with Drew McIntyre. And it was going to be back to business as usual with Drew. It was going to be, Drew McIntyre from 2012, back to being on main event and being on, being treated like garbage. But he ends up winning the Royal Rumble almost out of nowhere. And I was happy for Drew. I was like, okay, better late than never, I guess. But he ends up winning it. And I said, very positive review of the Royal Rumble. I enjoyed the show. And they picked the right guy to win it. So, we've got Drew McIntyre last week. He's talking like a super de-duper baby face. He's thanking everybody. He's calling himself the Dream Maker. It was super cringy, totally cringy. I couldn't even bear really to listen to this. I'm like, is this the same tough guy that talked about how he looked into Kurt Angle's eyes and and he liked the pain and suffering and all that? What happened to the edgy? What happened to the what were they calling him again? I forgot, the Scottish Terminator or whatever it was. Well, he's got another nickname, guys. So hold on a second. Let me just finish my thought here for a moment. So last week he gets beat up by Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, beats him up. They don't have Drew retaliate anywhere on the show. It happens right at the beginning of the show. There's Drew go looking for him backstage as he go in the parking lot screaming Brock's name. Where is he? Where is he? Of course not. This is not the Attitude Era. This is not the Ruthless Aggression Era. We're not going to get that stuff. Drew just kind of is like, well, I got F5 guys. What do you want me to do? Am I supposed to be a tough guy or something? I guess not. So this week, Drew's kind of just casually talking about Brock, and he says that he's the sexy Scotsman. The sexy Scotsman. I'll say it again and let it sink in. The sexy Scotsman. Yeah, that's what he said. He also thanks everyone for being there tonight. Thanks for coming out in the snowstorm. Like, do you see what I'm getting at here? They take this guy and they take his badassery away from him. And like, those words don't look like they would ever exit that mouth. Does Drew McIntyre look like a guy that would thank the crowd? Can you imagine Stone Cold Steve Austin? Oh, give me a hell yeah. Hey, everybody, thanks for coming out tonight. Not even Hulk Hogan would thank the crowd. You know, like, isn't that Michael Cole's job to say that on commentary? Hey, we want to extend the thanks for everyone coming out in the bad weather. Not the wrestler in the ring who won the Royal Rumble. The sexy Scott. Do I even have to say anything here, guys? Why would they do this to him? Like, I don't get it. Do they not look at this and say, okay, this is a bad idea? Like, last week they should have noticed it. Okay, we made a mistake. And I would get that. Let's walk it back. We want to make him a babyface. But you realize how bad it sounded last week. No. Here it's like, and also this other thing with him doing the 1, 2, 3. I didn't even get into all that, but that countdown stuff, it's just, I don't like it at all. I don't know, like, why they would go that way with him. They already had, like, a good enough character for him just being cold-blooded. I mean, I guess they really didn't need to do too much with that because his appearance kind of speaks for himself. It's not like he really needs this really, like, over-the-top gimmick, I guess. But he goes on and he says he's going to beat, Mojo Rawley in 3 seconds. He ends up beating him in 3 seconds. And then, then they go on and say, oh, it might have been under 3 seconds. Well, I think that would technically be impossible since a 3 count is 3 seconds, but we're not going to get super nerdy and technical with this. Anyway, just Drew's character is just not for me, much like this whole show. AOP and Buddy Murphy defeat the Viking Raiders and Kevin Owens in an elimination match. Why are they doing this Survivor Series style? Is there anything on the line here? Is there a title on the line? No. I don't even get this. And can we talk about the most obvious thing here at the moment? Samoa Joe violated the wellness policy. Now, from my understanding, that a violation of the wellness policy could be anything. It could be any kind of, narcotic, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be steroids. But those are like 2 terms that I never thought I'd ever hear in the same sentence, in the same, like, report. Samoa Joe and wellness policy. First of all, we know that Joe doesn't practice good wellness. I mean, look at the guy. He's a slob. People get really offended when I say they start comparing him to Vader. Never mind that Vader actually worked out excessively and actually, like, set some records for powerlifting and stuff like that. So he was a highly competitive powerlifter. But, people choose to not understand that stuff and they don't want to hear it because they like Samoa Joe. Never mind the fact that Scott Steiner made fun of this guy for the better part of a year on TV, calling him fat. But I'm just saying, like, please do not tell me that Samoa Joe was doing steroids because I'm just honestly not going to believe that. Because the thing is, despite what people say, when you do steroids, you can't just, take the steroids and just then sit on your ass and wait for it to take effect. Like, you actually have to go in the gym and work out even harder than if you weren't taking steroids. So, without getting into the technicalities, I don't know how that's even possible, and I'm going to assume it was just something else. So there you go with that. So Samoa Joe is out. And of course, they're still going to continue with the story anyway. I don't care either way, but like, I don't see the point of this, like this match and why it's elimination and why they're dragging it out and making like it's something important when it's really not important at all. So you've got AOP getting the pin on Owens, which I was kind of surprised there. Just having like one member pin him and the other guy was eliminated. It's almost like they don't even act like Owens won a world title at one point and Triple H was hugging this guy, congratulating him, like this guy really deserved it. Like, I don't I don't know. Like they have people win titles here. That's what I'm saying. It's like Drew McIntyre will go on most likely and win the title from Brock Lesnar. But what will it really mean? You know, like champions now, like from the past how many years, are not really remembered as being all-time greats. They're just like placeholders. You know, people make fun of it all the time. Jack Swagger winning a world title. Does anyone remember that? Well, not really. Dolph Ziggler winning the world title. You know, you look at these guys now, do they look like world champions? You know, even though they might be talented people, you don't remember these title reigns. And WWE didn't give you a reason to do so. So let's move on from that, because that was just basically some dragged out trash. Aleister Black defeats Eric Young. I still, like, let me, can I understand something here for a moment? We're going to take all this time and dedicate it to Buddy Murphy and the Viking Raiders and Kevin Owens and all these guys that, like, you know, compared to Eric Young, they really pale in comparison. When you think about the charisma and all that, Eric Young had shown on so many occasions in TNA why this guy belonged. You know, he had a character. He knew how to be funny. You know, he knew how to conduct himself in front of a camera and entertain and get eyes on him. For some reason, you know, the company that really prided themselves on characters and charisma and pageantry and being over the top and, you know, at one time, you know, produced a lot of solid comedy. You know, and Vince McMahon, you know, he's big on comedy, right? How could he not be feeling Eric Young unless he just didn't really understand Eric Young's brand of humor, or he just never bothered to really take a look or give the guy a chance on his, you know. But anyway, that ship has sailed long ago. Aleister Black, what happened to him going out and finding competition? I didn't see him really going out and finding anybody. What happened to that story? Then after the match, he's telling us about, you know, it's a lie. You know, they told you could grow up to be anything that you wanted, and, you know, that's a lie. You know, and then, you know, when it's all said and done, you're gonna know me as the guy that grew up to be whatever he wanted. And I'm like, what is this guy even saying? Like, can they do some type of writing that actually is creative? Like, instead of it just being, you know, a bunch of, like, statements that, oh, yeah, this sounds cool, and this sounds... How about, like, getting this guy involved in an actual story? You know, he looks interesting. I mean, how do you get this guy like Aleister Black that looks like this? And you just are like, well, let's barely do anything with him. Let's just have him go from match to match, week after week. And when we can't think of a match to put him in, we'll have him cut a promo backstage on the Titantron. Like, how lazy are they? Like, they don't want to do anything with anyone. It's like, if it requires any thought or effort, even if they're not doing the effort, like, I don't know what it is. It's very easy for everyone to always say Vince McMahon shooting all the good stuff down. I'm sorry, it just can't be. Because at some point, something good would have to get through. Why is it all garbage every single time? Like, every single time they get themselves on a hot item, like Edge. Edge just returned and they already ruined it. They had a hot angle with the now John Moxley. They ruined that, right? They had a lot of heat. They backed off of that really quickly. Every single time they start getting somewhere with somebody, they never got anywhere with Aleister Black, you know, but whenever they have anyone, Elias is probably the biggest example, more than probably anybody, of wasted talent. And they're just going to continue doing business as usual, right? Oh, this guy looks interesting. This guy looks like he has potential, right? And then they just do absolutely nothing with them. They'll, like, do something maybe interesting with them one week, introduce a new concept. Like, okay, that. They could have done something with that. Aleister Black could just be going around backstage kicking people, just breaking people's doors down the locker room. I don't know. Come up with something creative, even if it's far-fetched. I would like to know that these guys are at least earning their paychecks and thinking of ideas what to do, because I'm seeing absolutely no effort on this show. And some people are saying that the show is way better than it was a few months ago. I don't see what's improved. How is this any different than 2019, than 2018, than 2017? I'm still seeing garbage by the gallon. There's nothing that's improved. Do I see characters developing? No. Do I see any worthwhile matches that have stories built around them? No. I don't see anything. There's no character development. You see zero effort being put in these shows. So better, I'm not getting better. But then again, you have to turn your eyes to like the first segment. People were actually saying that was good, but they couldn't really put into words what was good about it. And I'm just saying there was actually an even greater example of there being nothing in the opening segment, and people still said it was good. That really says something. Then you've got, let's see what happened next. You had Angel Garza coming out, and you've got Humberto Carrillo, who I still don't understand why we're supposed to care about this guy. But anyway, Angel Garza is the cousin of Andrade. And to me, this was just funny because, like, they just kind of cart him out because Andrade was, violated the wellness policy. So they had to, like, get him off TV for 30 days. And, so now they've written him out. And so now this is his new opponent. But now he's, like, the less charismatic, doesn't have as great of a look as Andrade. So it definitely doesn't have, like the same physique. But they still have him being carted out there by Zelina Vega. So, it's just like, let's swap in one Latino wrestler for another one. And, it is very, very heavy-handed. Like, they start getting into the culture. They start speaking in Spanish in the ring. Like, it's just, come on. You don't have to throw it in our face. Like, this is the cultural segment on Raw. Like, just do it. Just, enough. Like, give us an interesting story. Tell us who this, who this Angel Garza is. I mean, I see him on YouTube. I've never watched one of his matches until tonight on Raw. But, I see that he's on 205 Live. Is there a reason why 205 Live is even in existence? Like, they don't have a title. It's an NXT, right? The Cruiserweight Championship. So what is the reason that still exists? But anyway, they've got Angel Garza just coming out of nowhere. You've got Rey Mysterio coming out to make the save. Rey ends up having a match with Angel Garza. Angel pulls back the mat on the outside, exposing the concrete. He gives him the same hammerlock DDT. And, you're just doing these, like, you did the same move they did last week. So right away, like, any, like, coolness factor, originality of, it's been a while since they pulled back the mat. They do the same exact thing again. Also, it looks really, like, bad, like I said, that you have Carrillo, who's supposed to be this baby face, this righteous baby face, a plain vanilla baby face, and they're having him, like, DDT Andrade. So, in a way, it's kind of justified that the heel is coming back for revenge for his cousin, which just looks so stupid, like... I understand that maybe they want to have shades of gray, but, you're just making the guy look like a total heel by driving someone's head into the concrete for no reason. And I'm not sure how crazy I am about having Rey Mysterio get beaten up by this Angel Garza guy. Like, who is he? First of all, he wouldn't even be there if Andrade didn't get suspended. They're just like, here you go. Here's someone just to stand in for him. There's no reason behind it other than to have someone stand in. And you're having, like, Rey Mysterio, like, I don't know what it is. Like, basically, a lot of the same people are there. You still have Stephanie, Triple H, McMahon. They were all there for when Mysterio was super over, when he won the title in '06. So, what is the deal with them, like, treating him this way? Like, Rey Mysterio is, like, just a mid-carder, basically. Like, this guy, his first night there, and they're already going to have him standing tall over Mysterio. Like, okay, Andrade I get, because this is a long-term guy. But are they going to have Angel Garza stick around even after Andrade comes back? Because I just got a feeling like this is someone who's not going to stick. And like, I got to be honest with you, the promo that Angel Garza was cutting was like nonsensical. Like, once again, what was he even saying? Like, these promos are so rambly and they go nowhere. And we'll move on. We've got, here's one. Okay, here's another, like, thing on this show where, like, you want to talk about, like, downgrade. There was several downgrades on this show, and we're about to talk about another downgrade. So what was the first downgrade we had on the show? It was, Randy Orton, brutalizing Edge in a good closing segment, right? Okay, so, it was shocking what's going to happen next week. Well, you saw what happened next week, and that's this week, and it wasn't anything great. There was a horrible follow-up. So it was a downgrade, right? Downgrade from last week. Rey Mysterio, is going up against Angel Garza. Selena Vega's got, the B-plus player there. Andrade's not there, so she just grabs his cousin from 205 Live. He wasn't good enough to be on the main roster last week, but he's good enough to be there this week because they need a fill-in. So there you go. And now we complete the trifecta. We complete the hat trick with another downgrade. So Charlotte is talking about who she's going to pick and everything. And then, Rhea Ripley comes out from NXT or, NXT UK. They're still referring to her now as the NXT Women's Champion. I thought it was just the NXT title, or maybe that's because it's, then again, WWE.com never even officially released the type of statement. The Fox page that they run on Twitter did. I did a video on that like a few days ago, about like a week ago or so now. And, it's kind of odd that announcement came out, and it was true, I think, but now they went right back to calling it the NXT Women's title. So Rhea Ripley challenges Charlotte, and the match is on, basically. And I have to ask this question. Charlotte prefaces it, by saying she's won the women's titles multiple times for Raw and SmackDown. So, the story here is basically, well, she might as well win the NXT one as well, even though she did win that one too, just not multiple times, I guess. So that's the one they're going with, the one she won the least amount of times. But you might be asking yourselves, Brad, what downgrade are you talking about? Well, I think you know what type of downgrade I'm talking about. Isn't the NXT title kind of below the WWE Women's title? And I know people don't like this when I say this, but that is developmental. I don't care what you say. NXT was a stand-in for FCW, which was their developmental. And I know, of course, even with, AEW Dynamite being on all that, they want to sell it as a totally separate brand. There are those online, like JD, excuse me, that would have you believe that NXT is, a brand that is side by side with Raw and SmackDown. They would have you believe that, the main roster stars are equivalent to that of the NXT stars. They're hungrier. They do better matches, supposedly. And I guess this was the story, at Survivor Series, but they did a very bad job of carrying that over the past few months, and to tell us that NXT is on the same level as Raw and SmackDown. I'm sorry, like, if you're not on the flagship show, you're not WWE, you're NXT. I'm sorry, but coming from people who don't watch the show, if you tell them they're on NXT, they're going to be like, what? What's that? It's the lowest rated show. So they don't really have a big significant audience at all. So I don't see how having her challenge the NXT champion, they used to always say, like, it's an upgrade. The NXT champion, that, like, think about it, the NXT World Champion is nowhere as big at, so Adam Cole, are you going to tell me that his belt is on par with Brock Lesnar? Are you going to seriously tell me that? Because I don't think that you are going to say that with a straight face. There's probably some people, the big NXT marks, who will probably say that. Because they'll say the work rate is better in NXT, so therefore it's superior. I'm sorry, but this is a total step back. And let me get this. I do like Rhea Ripley. I do like her look and everything. I think she comes off as being tough and everything. But they have not established. I mean, you want to know what says it all? And I saw people were bad-mouthing King. Rhea Ripley comes out on the Raw stage, and King says, "Who's this?" Exactly. Who is that? And he's not wrong, because you have not told us who Rhea Ripley is. You have not told us who this girl is and why she's important and why we should watch her and why we should be excited about Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. People are calling this a dream match. Who's dreaming of this match exactly? First of all, what's funny about that is I thought all the smarks hated Charlotte. They're always talking about, Charlotte's overrated, or Charlotte's only there because of her dad, Charlotte this, Charlotte that. No one will ever say that about Cody Rhodes. Oh, God forbid they say that about Cody Rhodes, that he's only there because of Dusty. They won't say that. AEW fans won't say that, but they will say that about Charlotte, and they did complain that she didn't deserve to win the Rumble. They said it should have went to Shayna Baszler. So, you're probably going to have, like, Shayna Baszler versus one of those, WWE women's champions, whatever the case may be. But I'm just saying, like, they just make this match come out of nowhere, and instantly everyone's supposed to get excited about it. How, when you've got how many people? 600,000 people watching NXT on average, and this is supposed to be your big WrestleMania match. Like, okay, you could do this on one of the other pay-per-views, do it on an NXT takeover, but like on WrestleMania, you're gonna bring out NXT as your ace card? Anyway, let's move on. We've got Asuka defeating Natalya. And then this brings out Becky Lynch. She's wearing those meme glasses. And she comes out. She's talking about having superpowers. Kairi Sane comes up from behind. She, this weak attack. And she goes, falling off, the apron all cartoonishly. And then she starts flexing and saying, "See, I got superpowers. I got eyes in the back of my head." Meanwhile, she's got her back turned. Asuka doesn't go for the mist or anything like that. And, we've got another match. Asuka's screaming in Japanese. No one knows what she's saying, but she's angry, right? So I guess whatever the case may be, we've got a match. Now, can I ask a question here? Why... When Becky Lynch basically, emphatically pinned Asuka, you could say, oh, the mist went back into her eyes and everything. Why are we having another match? They need to buy time, I guess. They don't have anyone else, right? Who are the viable challengers? And what is the thing, what Kari's saying? It's very obvious that, They don't consider her to be on the same level as Asuka. She's just kind of like a goof there who gets beat up all the time. You know, and she's there to have matches for Asuka, so like she could eat pins, you know, so it doesn't have to be Asuka. That's what she's there for, basically. You know, she's Asuka's meat shield. They're just kind of throw her out there, and you know, it doesn't matter like what happens with her. But you know, a cringy Lynch was in full effect tonight. I mean, her doing this and just like, I've got superpowers. Just like, what? Like, you know, they just don't stop with her. Like, every single thing they have her come out there and do and say, it always has to live up to her name. It always has to be super cringy. It's always got to be something that's not cool, even though they have her acting all cool and everything. Coming out with those glasses, it's just, it's goofball city to the max, man. Like, come on. Then Seth Rollins cuts a promo. All the wrestlers were cutting promos. Ricochet actually says he's got a slim chance tonight. Anyway, so Rollins cut this promo, and I actually had to say, like, you know, again, in the theme of the night, it was another rambling, long-winded promo that really didn't say much, you know, but he is so much better as a heel. Still not a big Rollins fan, but I have to say what I said like about him back in like 2015. The guy is way better as a heel than he is as a face. 10 times better. Like, not as cringy. Also, was it me, or did he not sound as whiny as he used to? You know, I don't know what it is. It's just, I guess maybe because they had him talking in a higher register when he was a baby face. He just, I don't know, but this side of Rollins is way better than, so like, yeah. So you want to talk about things that are not downgrades? This is a slight upgrade. You know, okay, they addressed like, oh, you know, there was a better reaction when I said I was going to beat Brock. Oh, I didn't even explain it. So they're having a triple threat match. Ricochet, Lashley, and Seth Rollins. The winner is going to go on to face Brock Lesnar at Super Showdown, which is now airing from Saudi Arabia. It used to be Australia, but now apparently. And I'm also being told that there are plans, being told, a few people told me on social media, and I think I might have seen it in some of the dirt sheets. They might be thinking of doing Orton and Edge at the Super Showdown show. I don't know how an idea could get any. I almost sounded like JD there for a moment. Oh, I'm getting sources. No, I have no sources. People were talking about it, guys. Anyway, so you're going to basically sacrifice probably the only match of any interest at WrestleMania. I mean, maybe they're not going to do it, but I would not put it past them to do it there in Saudi Arabia, because, you know, that's what they've been doing. They've been like having these really big matches and putting it on for the Saudi crowd because it's what they demand. So Vince McMahon gives them whatever they want. So that's basically what they might end up doing. I won't be surprised. It will be really stupid if they do that, because they could probably just do something else. But I guess if it's a match that is demanded, they probably will have to do it anyway, because Vince doesn't want to upset, you know, his benefactors in Saudi Arabia, I suppose. But anyway, we have this match, and you look at this match, and, you know, Seth Rollins was saying that, you know, it was a much different reaction last year. You know, remember that? Remember when everyone was like, yeah, have Seth Rollins slay the beast? You know, where's everyone now? Exactly. Now, I know they changed his character, but there's a reason why they did change his character. Because all the smarks lost interest in Rollins and they started booing him. Specifically during that Hell in a Cell match from last year. Anyway, we have Ricochet, Lashley, and Seth Rollins, right? So, like, obviously the choice here should be Lashley. What a better match for Saudi Arabia, right? Than to have three guys going at it. Two guys going at it, rather, that everyone wants to see. Lashley and Brock Lesnar in a match would be just awesome. It would be great. Now, that's a dream match. That's a match that has been talked about since 2005. I still remember reading it on message boards that people wanted to see what many people were calling the Black Brock Lesnar versus Brock Lesnar. So now that you've got a much, much more advanced Bobby Lashley, who's grown so much since '05, this obviously would be a great match. Now, of course, we probably wouldn't get a story regardless, but, you know, it would be an interesting match to see, to say the least. So the match takes place. Ricochet ends up winning. And who's he pinned? Lashley. Of course. Of course. Because they were involved in the thing at the Rumble, right? Remember, he low-blowed Brock, which let Drew get the kick in on Brock and eliminate him. So, of course, you know, they've got to do that continuity. Now, I didn't even hear... Did Cole even mention that once? I didn't even hear it as a point that was being driven home, but I guess they did. But Brock comes out, hits the F5 on Ricochet. Oh, so Brock's been there all along. And Drew McIntyre, what was he? He was like the third segment on the show. Didn't find him backstage. Didn't go looking for him. I guess Drew didn't get the memo. So when Brock is out there, does Drew rush to the ring to get his revenge? Of course he doesn't. Of course he doesn't, because that would make too much sense. Because he's too busy being the sexy Scotsman, I guess, and, you know, totally forgetting Brock Lesnar F5ing him last week, you know. So there you go, guys. I don't really see how it could get much worse than this. People are always getting excited. I've never been this excited for a WrestleMania. Okay, if they end up doing Edge versus Orton Mania, I'll be looking forward to that match. But there is a very strong chance that they are going to just hot shot it for Super Showdown, because it's the Saudi Arabia show, and, you know, basically F whatever happens at Mania, because the Saudi show is the #1 priority, I think. You know, they have a very high attendance there. I don't know if it matches Mania, but, you know, regardless, it's still a big show that sells a lot of tickets, and it's a part of a big deal. Right, a big $1 billion deal that they got paid several $1 billion to do these shows and so I would not be surprised if they say, hey, Edge, just go ahead and make your return singles match at the Super Showdown. Why not? It's not like anything actually matters in this company. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought of the review down below. Let me know what you thought about the show down below in the comments. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all notifications when I post all my new videos. And guys, thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.